The Pokemon anime just made a Pokemon Sleep episode that quite literally put all of its fans to sleep, because this one was just so boring and didn't need to exist whatsoever. Let's talk about it before I start yawning myself. In the episode, Dot's Quaquaval and Tinkaton are struggling to sleep, and even after exercising and warm milk they still can't, and wow, they're so me, for real. I will say it's really cute seeing all four of them in a quadruple bed, and it's probably a relief that Dot hasn't caught any more Pokemon, cause where the heck would they even sleep? They can't extend that bed by much more. Then, ever so conveniently, the next day our heroes just happen to bump into Professor Neroli, the sleep research expert from the Pokemon Sleep game, and for context, I played that game for like one night and then promptly uninstalled it. I like the idea of seeing the adorable sleeping styles of Pokemon and maybe learning more information about them, but the gameplay just does not suit my life. My sleep schedule is not fit for it, man. Professor Neroli then explains who he is and what he does and goes on some government-mandated speech about how important sleep is. Thank you, Professor. I'm glad we finally have confirmation that Pokemon also need to sleep. I had no idea. Next week we'll discover they also need food and water too. Anyway, he's heading to Greengrass Isle for some field work, so Dot offers to give him a lift there in their airship if he helps them figure out what's wrong with Quaquaval and Tinkaton sleeping. After watching him sleep, Naroli says that Tinkaton's defensive, protective instinct is kicking in since she's grasping her hammer while sleeping, so that means she must be scared of something, and that makes Dot realise that she showed her Pokemon a new live streaming trend the other day, where people record ghosts jump scaring viewers, in this case a Haunter and a Banette. It terrified her Pokemon except for Goldingo because hilariously, he's part ghost himself. That's funny, man. And off topic, you guys know horror is my thing, my favourite genre. I've somehow found enough ways to yap about that while talking about a kids show like Pokemon. And my favourite subgenre of horror, much to the annoyance of my mates who hate it and say it always puts them to sleep, convenient for this episode anyway, my favourite subgenre is found footage horror. You know, like a character recording the horror around them with a camera or a phone, and the viewers watching that footage back. I'm obsessed with that subgenre. I find it so scary, so getting a brief found footage horror moment in the Pokemon anime was not on my bingo card, but I love it. Sadly, it is the best the episode has to offer though. Dot feels guilty that she scared her Pokemon, but Naroli says at the island there's a Snorlax who emits a drowsy power to make Pokemon sleep, so that could work for Dot's Pokemon. So our heroes go there, and although it's awesome to see another spin-off game location in the anime, I just don't really care too much for this one because I don't play Pokemon Sleep. They did do a good job at building the peaceful, calm, sleepy atmosphere of the island and the Pokemon though. It did feel very serene. I kinda wanna live there, man. Our heroes see the Snorlax with the drowsy power, but it's too hungry to sleep, so they want to make it a curry to put it to sleep and hence to put Dot's Pokemon to sleep. So our heroes team up with the Pokemon on the island to go find all the ingredients, but then conveniently again, a Banette and a Haunter steal the ingredients from Dot's Pokemon, making them come face to face with their fears. How convenient it's the same two Pokemon that terrified them the other day. Dot helps calm her Pokemon down by telling them that the ghosts are just hungry, they're not trying to hurt them, and the two ghosts seem to be hurt or sad that they scared Dot's Pokemon that extremely. I don't think they meant to, you know? Later on, our heroes use the ingredients to begin making the curry, and then the ghosts appear again, scaring Quaquaval and Tinkaton again, but then Dot realises the ghosts just want to help. So Dot makes them work together with her Pokemon to cook the curry, and through doing that, Quaquaval and Tinkaton stop being scared of them, they start having a laugh with them. I will say that I love that our heroes said to add heart to the curry. It's a really nice callback to the curry episode super early on in Horizons where they did the same, and I'm sure the LikoRoy shippers will love this frame. Anyway, they feed Snorlax the curry and they all begin enjoying it happily, and that puts Snorlax to sleep, which in turn puts all of the Pokemon to sleep, including Tinkaton and Quaquaval. So yeah, getting over their fear and also the power of Snorlax's drowsy power helped Quaquaval and Tinkaton overcome their sleeping problems. W, dude. The next morning our heroes enjoy learning the different sleep styles of the Pokemon on the island, and I will say this looks kind of weird because it's so blatant the animators just traced over the 3D models from the Pokemon Sleep game. They look weirdly 3D and completely out of place compared to everything around them. It doesn't blend at all. It reminded me of the Destiny Deoxys movie where they were experimenting with 3D elements too. I know it was probably done here to save time and animation budget, but it did take me out of the episode for a few seconds, so it is worth mentioning, you know? And yeah, the episode ends with Professor Neroli fangirling over how Captain Pikachu sleeps, and that's it. So overall, the best part of the episode for me was the random found footage horror segment, and also this one random shot with two little Dedennes. They're like a top 5 Pokemon ever for me, so it healed my heart seeing the cuties here, you know? And I did like seeing our heroes teaming up with a bunch of wild Pokemon and seeing Dot want to make things right because she feels guilty for scaring her Pokemon, but man, I have to say it, and I hate to say it, this episode sucked outside of that. Not only was it just boring, but nothing really happened. The premise of the episode was uninteresting, it was basically repeating things we've already seen before, most of the cast's Pokemon weren't included for no real reason, and I also just don't really care for Pokémon Sleep, and this totally failed at making me want to play the game as well. So what was the point really? Pokemon has an almost infinite number of stories it could tell, an infinite number of characters and Pokemon to explore, and yet this is what they chose to spend an entire episode on? I don't know man, I just thought this was really rubbish. I also feel like with a big part of last week's episode being like a weird fever dream style thing, you know, the characters being in some weird psychedelic dream world, and then this week's episode being all about sleeping, and about Dot's Pokemon having nightmares and stuff, they definitely could have found a way to combine the two episodes into one much stronger and much more unique, interesting episode. Maybe they could have had Quaquaval and Tinkaton being haunted by a Pokemon in their dreams, maybe like a Hypno or a Darkrai or something, and Sodio could have been there too investigating it, thinking it's like a big urban legend or something crazy, but then Professor Neroli could have been the opposite and said it's something more down to earth and grounded, like a Pokemon. I feel like Professor Neroli's scientific grounded approach versus Sodio's crazy head in the clouds approach, that could have made for a really funny character dynamic between them, and it could have had both the Pokemon Sleep elements and the crazy fever dream psychedelic elements all in one storyline, one episode, and it would have made it feel more worthwhile, you know? Not to mention there were so many plot conveniences just for the story to work, like conveniently bumping into the one sleep researcher in the world, who is conveniently going to where a Snorlax with the convenient power to put Pokemon to sleep lives, and then conveniently there's a Haunter and a Banette living there, the same species that scared Dot's Pokemon. I don't know, it all just felt too convenient to me, you know? And I've got to say, out of all of the ghost Pokemon to choose, did it have to be Haunter and Banette? I love those two Pokemon, don't get me wrong, but Haunter is a part of the Gengar evolution line, who are by far the most overused ghosts in the franchise, and Banette got an entire focus episode only 150 episodes ago. There are hundreds of Pokemon who have never had a focus episode, and hundreds more who haven't had one in decades. Did we really have to choose Haunter and Banette here? I feel like choosing some ghosts who haven't really had the spotlight that much. It wouldn't have fixed the episode, but it would have at least made it stand out a little bit more, you know? I also think the episode would have been the perfect opportunity to bring back the singing Jigglypuff from Ash's anime. Her entire thing was putting people to sleep, and there were Jigglypuffs here on the island. It would have made for a really funny storyline, like a really funny cameo. I guess the writers are still too scared of implying there's a shared universe between Liko and Ash. So yeah, overall, this episode sucked. It was just boring, man. I know Pokemon episodes aren't always gonna be masterpieces, but having a world this exciting, this expansive, and then somehow making it boring, that's the worst crime the Pokemon anime can ever commit. And you guys know I'm the biggest Horizons defender ever, even some of the dodgy episodes I find ways to love, but I just couldn't with this one, man. This one really let me down. I hope you guys enjoyed it more than I did, let me know your thoughts below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed my review. Thank you so much to my incredible channel members on screen right now. That includes Toten, Not Mini, Hope J, you guys are the best. So thank you all so much for watching, and best wishes until we meet again.